Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Mainline Unitarian Church. Happy Halloween. It's good to see you here this morning. Marlise Singh is unable to join us this morning because she tested positive for COVID on Tuesday. In a bit, we will light a candle for her. I'm sure that will make her feel better. My name is Joe Lipton, and I am privileged to serve as treasurer and a member of our board of trustees. Our worship this morning will be led, I'm not sure I know all these people, by Reverend Dr. John Morehouse, our Director of Religious Education, Dawn Star Saraz Worshell. Carolyn Wright, our ministerial intern with a pointy head. Our worship associate, Kathy Landay. And music this morning will be provided by Liz and Carl Blygan. And Jody Brown's supposed to be here, but instead we have that person. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are a bit spooky, but not too scary. Remember, we have deep roots in Transylvania. Our denomination was formed by the merger of Unitarianism, which holds that God is one, and Universalism, which tells us that whatever our ultimate destiny may be, we will share in it equally. Today, we come together to support our shared and individual quests for Halloween candy, but also purpose in life and to bring more compassion, justice, and responsible stewardship to our world. Regardless of where you are on your religious journey, you are welcome here. Regardless of the color of your skin or the country of your birth, you are welcome here. Regardless of how you identify or who you love, you are welcome here. And regardless of how much money you have or your political affiliation, you are welcome here. I'd like to extend an especially warm welcome to those of you brave enough to visit with us today. We're delighted that you're here and hope that you find your time with us well spent. After the service, we encourage visitors to join us for coffee and tea in the fireside room across the hall. We look forward to meeting you and getting acquainted. More information is available about Unitarian Universalism and our church specifically at the welcome table in the lobby. There are a lot of announcements this morning. First, I'd like to invite Sue Smith to the pulpit to introduce a guest from our sister fellowship in Westchester.
Good morning. It's happened again. This weekend we grieve, but don't just go about your business again on Monday. We can do something. Lewiston, Maine is the 6th of the 10 deadliest shootings in modern U.S. history. Will it ever change? I hope so. Again, we have work to do. We have work to do as people of faith, as Unitarian Universalists. The first job is to study the local and statewide candidates and who gives them money. Not just the good guys we have to look and talk to, it's the questionable ones. Follow the money. Then take out your pen and write to them, others, and your local newspaper. And then, of course, vote. This morning, it's my privilege to introduce a colleague from the Unitarian congregation of Westchester. We've been working on gun violence activities together for many years. And I'd like Tom to tell you about the rally coming up on November 15th in Harrisburg.
Hello, thank you for welcoming me here. I really appreciate it, Sue, and everybody here at the congregation. I've been a UU since 1999 and a gun violence prevention activist since Sandy Hook, 2012. I started a group at our UCWC that morphed into Gun Census, a Chester County-wide grassroots GVP group that did good work and disbanded last year. Gun deaths in the United States have actually gone through a cycle. They were very bad for a long time before most of us became aware of it. In the 1990s, there were two good bills passed that helped reduce gun violence, and that was the Brady Bill in 1993. It introduced background checks nationally for the first time. And then an assault weapons ban in 1994 that was active for 10 years. Since the 2000s, gun deaths and injuries have steadily risen. The sunset of the assault weapons ban in 2004, the passage of law in 2005 protecting gun dealers and gun manufacturers from suit with immunity, the rise of popularity of the AR-15 notorious rifle, which I call a killing machine. So since 2005, about 28,000 gun deaths have gone up to close to 50,000 today. That has been instilled in this country since then. Mass shootings have gone up dramatically. Lewistown, Maine, which Susan just talked about, is the 565th mass shootings of 2023. It's pretty staggering. UU Justice PA is our statewide social justice organization, as you know. Reverend Joan Sabatino, a retired UU minister, is our lobbyist in Harrisburg, lobbying for the things in Harrisburg, lobbying for the things we care about, and one of those is gun violence prevention. I lead the GVP group of UU Justice PA for the last 5 years. UUs need to be part of the solution here. And when we see an opportunity to work with other faith groups, we need to be part of that. In Harrisburg on November 15th, there's going to be a rally, and it's organized by the Episcopal Archdiocese of PA. They're the leader. And they're inviting many other faith groups. The Baha'is are going to be there, Quakers, Heeding God's Call, Reformed Jewish Synagogue, Lutheran Church, United Methodist Church, and more. And we need to be there as well. So I'm out recruiting folks. November 15th, if you're interested in speaking out, doing something about gun violence prevention, please join us. The details will be on these flyers, and Susan will be happy to show you more details out in the hallway after the service. So I hope to see some of you join us. I'm organizing a carpool, so let me know if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the work that you do. From our ministerial transition team, there will be an ongoing introductions to Reverend John by way of small group meetings, and he wants to meet the words were as many people as possible, but I think the words really mean everybody. If you have not had the opportunity to meet with Reverend John, there are in-person meetings on November 5th and 8th, and a Zoom meeting on November 6th. Sign up in the atrium after the service. For those of you on Zoom today, see the transition team update in the most recent e-notes for a link to the sign-up. From Dawn Starr, who could not be with us today. There is a family campfire with Reverend John at 5 p.m. next Saturday, November 4th. You have something to say, Lumpy? From Madeline Seiko, our membership coordinator, there is a welcome to MLUC get-together in the library right after this service. Dawn Starr, aka Lumpy, has a great announcement to make.
Hello, I'm Lumpy Space Princess from Adventure Time, which is probably the only time in my life I will ever be a princess for Halloween. But I'm actually up here to share some very exciting news with you, which is that we have hired our first youth ministry coordinator in a long time. We've hired Henry Zink. Henry, would you stand up so everybody can see you? And our volunteers and our parents and our youth with youth from about 8th grade up right now, maybe 6th grade up eventually, but we'll figure it out. Thank you, Henry, and you'll all have a chance to meet him later, but in the interest of time, we'll move right along.
Thank you, whoever you are. Last but certainly not least, Reverend John has a few words about the auction.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here today. Harvest Moon auction is coming up. That's what all the hoopla is out in the atrium there. Only 6 days left until the silent auction, which begins November 4th. This is a very important fundraiser for our congregation, and it will hopefully raise close to $40,000, which can be used for any number of things. There's a long list of things that the committee put on my announcement here, but I think all they need to be discussed. But more importantly, the auction is a great community building event, and almost everything that's donated, the dinners, the themed events and such, enable members to sustain, build, and strengthen our community, which is really why we're all here. We've received over 100 wonderful donations so far, but right now we don't have enough people to bid. Last year at this time we had 100 bidders already. We're only up to 44. So what do you need to do? You go online, you buy a bidding number, it's $20, and you're in. And then you participate, especially in the silent auction for people who may not want to come out on November 11th, but I hope to see many of you here on November 11th. Ron and Joanne Rose will be leading that wonderful event as our auctioneers. It all begins with you and a bidding number. So get those numbers in. Consider that an official request from your minister. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Where are we? Oh, the end. Okay, if everyone would please silence your phones or whatever gadgets you may happen to have with you. We'll recite our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith. Liz? Oh. Okay, Charles,
morning. This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are in other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting, not by number, but by silence, with wild abandon, with a brush you made yourself. From light deep inside, startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story.
Have you seen a newborn baby? The wonder in her eyes. Every sight and sound's astounding. Every moment's a surprise. Mother's smiling at her laughter. Father's babbling like a child. Now they're cast into a new world by the glory of her smile. We were glorious once, and we're glorious still. And if we take the time to look, we can see that glory well. See that old man on the corner, rags wrapped around his feet, shopping cart to hold his life in. And he's out begging on the street. Now turn the clock back 60 years. Who's that laughing
worship this morning is a poem called Mystic Imagination Night by Patricia L. Sisko. On one mystic magic night, jack-o'-lanterns glowing bright, kids with bags of candies sweet roam door to door and street to street, all dressed up for trick-or-treat. Wizards with wands, pirates with hooks, monsters and clowns with spooky looks, kings and queens with capes and crowns, a princess in her royal gown. Witches with hats and fairies with wings, movie stars with sparkling wings, vampires with fangs that bite, ghosts that boo, all dressed in white, imaginations taken flight on that one mystic magic night. Oh, the fun of Halloween, be young or old or in between. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Our story this morning is about lifetimes. It's a little more serious than the goofiness that we've engaged in so far. There is a beginning and ending for everything that is alive. In between is living. All around us, everywhere, beginnings and endings are going on all the time, with living in between. This is true for all living things, for plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for trees, for animals, even for the tiniest insect. Nothing that is alive goes on living forever. How long it lives depends on what it is and what happens while it is living. Sometimes living things become ill or they get hurt. Mostly, of course, they get better again. But there are times when they are so badly hurt, or they are so ill, they die because they can no longer stay alive. This can happen when they are young, or old, or anywhere in between. It may be sad, but it is the way of all things, and it is true for everything that is alive. For plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for trees, for animals, even for the tiniest insects. There are lots of living things in our world. Each one has its own special lifetime. Trees, rabbits and mice, flowers and vegetables, butterflies, birds, fish, and people. Well, like everything else that is alive, people have lifetimes too. They live for about 70 or 80 years, sometimes even longer, doing all the things that people do, like growing up and being grown up. It can happen, though, just as it does to all other living things, that people become ill or they get hurt. Mostly, of course, they get better again, but there are times when they are so badly hurt or they are so ill that they die because they can no longer stay alive. It may be sad, but that is how it is for people. It is the way they live, and it is their lifetime. So no matter how long they are or how short, lifetimes are really all the same. They have beginnings and endings, and there is living in between. That is how things are. For plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for plants, for fish, for animals, even for the tiniest insect, everywhere. We are going to our classes now. I would like to say that we are using every space that is ours to use in the building. Morning. And if you are the parent of a kindergartner or a first grader, you're joining me on the 3rd floor in the couch room, which has brand new furniture. If you are a kindergartner or a first grader who's in OWL, you're going into the library, which is out this door and just that way. And if you're in Stepping Stone, you're upstairs. If you're in the workshops, you're in the McGinnis room. And if you're in Crossing Paths, you're upstairs in the other direction. Let's go.
Each week, we share our collection plate with a carefully selected partner. For our offering outreach this month, we have chosen Safe Harbor of Chester County, a nonprofit charitable organization whose mission is to provide housing, food, and access to support services in a structured environment for homeless single men and homeless single women in Chester County. In visiting the website for Safe Harbor, I learned some things that I did not know. For example, did you know they provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner to shelter residents and lunch for the food insecure in the community? They help people find resources to procure interview-ready clothing. They work to provide government-issued IDs that are needed to take the next step to get housing and employment. They help get medical insurance and relationships with medical professionals who provide free work. They help with financial and legal aid services, so that's a lot, and they do more. It's always good. One of the things I like about being worship associate makes me dig a little further. So those are the things I learned. So I know that our donations to this group will have a positive impact on poverty and homelessness in Chester County. So please give generously if you can, and together we will make a difference. Our offerings are collected here and electronically. We thank you. For an electronic donation, please follow the instructions on the screen.
Since I was a boy, The sky unwraps a million miles long. It goes on and on. Scene after scene passes by my life. The windows are wounds and the road is a knife. The irony asked me, where have you been? Well, I don't know, because I don't know where to begin. Too much to do, too much to see. Pictures to take people to me. When there's so much space in between, it overwhelms me. Scene after scene passes by my life. The window's a wound and the road is a knife. The irony asks me, where have you been? Well, I don't know, because I don't know where to begin. Not been here since I was a boy. Now a heart full of fear and a mask of painted joy. So much for these youthful eyes to see. So much of peace and tranquility. One prairie outpost, you are how I feel. Alone in the flatlands between the dream and the real. The irony asks me, where have you been? Well, I don't know, because I don't know where to begin. Don't know where to begin.
Makes me feel mellow. I like that feeling. Now is the time in our service when we light candles for the joys, celebrations, or sorrows that we experience in life. We do this in a spirit of loving kindness and support for one another. I'd like to start candles this morning with a prayer for the larger community. We remember in our hearts with caring and love for the Israelis and the Palestinians who are suffering loss of life and pandemonium in their communities. We remember the people of Acapulco who still search for the missing. We remember the people of Lewiston, Maine, who are grieving inconceivable losses. We pray that you will somehow regain a sense of safety. We cry with you, and we hold you. First candle for our immediate community is for Ann Bayer Clark, who has seemed to break her foot. It's the left foot, so she can still drive. But for our dear Ann, we hold you in our hearts. Nuala Carpenter ask us to light a candle for Ian and Trevor Blasco, whose father, Louis Blasco, died last week. Louis was the husband of longtime member and social activist Mimi Blasco, who died a few years ago. For Ian, Trevor, and Louis, we hold you in our hearts. We have lots of candles this morning. I'm going to go to Eileen Andrews, asked to light her own candle. Come on up. Eileen is lighting a candle in memory of her Capitol Hill neighbor and dear friend Angela Carlson, who recently passed. For Eileen and Angela, we hold you in our hearts. Jamie and Jeanette Wheeler mourn the death of Louis Blasco, and I won't say the rest because we already did, but also for you and for our whole congregation who mourns Louis, we hold you in our hearts. Adam and Lisa Beck have a joy. We are longtime members visiting today. Oh, welcome back. And we hold you in our hearts. There they are. Nice to see you. Yasara has asked that we light a candle of joy for the opening of Primble Cottage, and a thank you to Reverend John and Francis for turning this former rental property into a real home. There will be an announcement in the next month or so to invite everyone to a holiday cookie event at the parsonage in December. Yay. For Reverend John and Francis, we hold you in our hearts. We light a candle of joy for Abdul Rahman, who is the son of our adopted Afghan family. He will be 1 year old on November 3rd. He is a delight to his parents and his two sisters, Hadia and Safa, and especially, and to all who visit. For Muhammad Adila, Hadia, and Safa, and especially Abdul, we hold you in our hearts. And for all those joys and sorrows that we hold deeply within us and are too deep to mention today, we hold you in our hearts. So I hope you're ready. You might have noticed in your order of service that we are going to do a moving meditation today. And all of you who think this is a Halloween costume, well, it could be, I guess, but it really is my Tai Chi pajamas that I wear for when I practice my Tai Chi. So we're going to take a step, or maybe you might say a leap, into the unusual. I need this for a few more minutes. As you may have noticed in your order, I did say that already. So we're going to be using our bodies, and we're going to be practicing the ancient art of Qigong, which the Chinese people have used for thousands of years for body health and healing. And since for most Chinese it is a lifelong practice, they don't use words when they practice it. When I teach it in classes, I use words to explain how your body should be moving. But for this morning, since it's a meditation, I am only going to say the words in and out to cue you for breathing. The rest of it you can just follow as best you can. Don't worry too much about how you look. And just mimic my movements. And I hope you'll get a sense of relaxation in your body. And you may start to feel some tingling in your fingers, so that's normal. The important thing is to relax and enjoy the movements and enjoy your breath. And this morning, the movements that we will be doing will be focusing on your heart and lungs. So you'll all need to stand up if you are able. If you cannot stand up, that's okay. It's good to do it in a chair as well. You need to give yourself some space. So move out into the aisles. People are welcome to come up to the chancel for more space if you wish. Don't be scared. It's only me and Reverend Sean. Okay, and so just make sure you have room. Okay, so you're going to stand shoulder width apart with your feet. If you're sitting, you can also move your feet apart. And we're going to bend our knees and start. In. Out. 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 In. And out. Now, women, put your right hand forward and men left. We're going to drop our hands down slowly to our dantian. Place it there. And you can think about bringing in the peace. And we will end with a bow.
Thank you, Kathy. From where I was standing, it was a sea of arms. It was really quite beautiful. It's good to get out and use the body, because the body is part of the spirit as well. The two are intertwined together. Unitarian Universalists tend to be a lot in the head. We're trying to move you down into the heart. I begin with a piece of satire from The New Yorker some time ago by the author Maria Semple. This is a trigger warning here. This is not a true story, so everybody can relax. But it's meant to talk a little bit about some of the angst that we feel at the time of Halloween, the Day of the Dead, and the autumn festivals. This is a series of fictitious emails from a preschool teacher named Emily to the parents of the preschool class. Dear parents, the Mountain Room is gearing up for its Day of the Dead celebration on Friday. Please send in photos of loved ones for our altar. All parents are welcome to come by Wednesday afternoon to help make candles and decorate skulls. Thanks, Emily. You can see where this is going. Hi again. Because I've gotten some questions about my last email, there's nothing wrong with Halloween. The Day of the Dead is the Mexican version, a time of remembrance. Many of you chose Little Learners Preschool because of our emphasis on global awareness. Our celebration on Friday is an example of that, and the skulls we're decorating are sugar skulls. I should have made that clear. Emily. Dear parents, some of you expressed concern about your children celebrating a holiday with the word dead in it. I asked Eleanor's mom, who's a pediatrician, and here's what she said. Preschoolers tend to see death as temporary and reversible, therefore I see nothing traumatic about the Day of the Dead. Hope this helps. Emily. Dear parents, in response to the email we've all received from Maddie's parents, in which they shared the decision to raise their daughter dogma-free. Yes, there will be an altar, but please be assured that the Day of Dead is a pagan celebration of life and has nothing to do with God. Keep those photos coming, Emily. Hello again. Perhaps pagan was a poor word choice. I feel like we're veering off track a bit, so let's try this. I'll start setting up the altar tomorrow so that when you come and pick up today, you can see for yourself just how colorful and harmless the Day of the Dead truly is. Yours sincerely, Emily. Dear parents, the photos of the loved ones need to be the loved ones who died. Max's grandma was understandably shaken when she came in and saw a photo of herself on the altar. But the candles and skulls are cute, right? Emily. Okay, parents, it's late and I can't possibly respond to each and every email. Not that this comes up a lot in conversation, but I have children too. As the skulls have clearly become a distraction, I decided to throw them all away. They're in the compost. I'm looking at them now. You too can look at them tomorrow at drop-off. And finally, to those parents who are offended by our Day of the Dead celebration, I'd like to point out that there are parents who are offended that you are offended. Sincerely, Emily. Dear parents, thanks to the group email, we now know that the families of Millie and Jaden recognize Jesus Christ as their Savior. There still seems to be some confusion about why, if we want to celebrate life, we're actually celebrating death. To better explain this bewildering detour, I've asked Adelia, who works in the office, makes waffles for us on Wednesday, and who was born in Mexico, to write to you directly. Emily. Hola, los padres. El Día de Muertos begins with a parade through the square where we toss oranges into decorated coffins. The skeletons drive us in a bus to the cemetery, and we molest the spirits from under the ground with candy and traditional Mexican music. We write poems called calaveras. We laugh at the living. In Mexico, it's a time of rejoicing, offering, picnics, and dancing on the graves. Adelia. Okay, parents. Some of you misunderstood Adelia, and I probably should have looked it over. For now, let's agree that email has reached its limits. By the way, I would have pointed that out after the first email. How about we process our feelings face to face? 9 a.m. tomorrow, shall we? Emily. Well, dear parents, some of you chose to engage in our dialogue, and some of you chose to form a human chain. So we're all up to speed. Let me recap this morning's discussion. Number one, Satan isn't driving our bus. Little Learners doesn't have a bus. If we did, we'd still need parent drivers for the field trip to the cider mill. Anyone interested? I didn't think so. Number two, an offering is just a thing we put on a wall, on an altar. Any random thing. A bottle of Fanta, unopened, not poisoned, just a bottle of Fanta. And we're moving past the word altar and calling what it really is an eagle's blanket draped over some cinder blocks. Number four, Adelia will not be preparing food anymore, and Waffle Wednesdays have been suspended, which didn't make us any friends for the rest of the school. And number five, on Friday, I will divide our room into three groups: those who celebrate the Day of the Dead, those who wish to celebrate Halloween, and Maddie will be making non-denominational potato prints in the corner. Dear parents, today I learned not to have open flames in the same room as a costume parade. I learned that a $5 belly dancer outfit purchased at a pop-up costume store can easily catch fire, but really, I knew that by just looking at it. I also learned that Fanta is effective in putting out fires. And I learned that a child emerging completely unscathed from the burning costume isn't a good enough outcome for some parents. And today I learned I'll be unemployed on Monday. For me, the Day of the Dead will always be a time of remembrance. Halloween is one of my absolute favorite holidays. I got dressed up in this costume just for you. It's a big deal in my family. We used to host a festival at our house on a Saturday closest to Halloween, which we called Ghost Town. And we invited the entire church and the community around us to come. Each year had a theme. One year it was the Arabian Nights, and we had live camel rides. I have no idea where Francis found live camels. Most of our conservative neighbors in the neighborhood in which we live politely declined our invitation. Our next door neighbor, an avowed fundamentalist, told me he was considering forming a prayer circle around the property to make sure no evil spirits got out. So inflammatory is this holiday that most schools now don't even try anything as creative as poor Emily, our preschool teacher. Most of it called this a fall festival, which is really too bad. It's really too bad because Halloween has been hijacked by the gruesome and the satanic. A little scary is kind of fun. Clowns that eat children, not so much. And it's too bad for another reason, and that is that scaring little kids and forming prayer circles to keep the devil at bay are not what Halloween or the Day of the Dead are really about. What they're really about is honoring the dead while affirming the living. It's the connection between the two. What Halloween is really about is scaring off the bad and making lighter the suffering which all of us have in our lives. Like Christmas, which by the way is another great pagan holiday, the eve before All Saints' Day on November 1st is preparing for a celebration of life. All Hallows' Eve, All Sacred Eve, is the night of mischief and laughing at the ills of our world, preparing for a reaffirmation of life after the harvest the next morning. It is one of the most hallowed pagan holidays in the world. It dates back to at least 4,500 years, maybe longer. And as my colleague Joseph Snyder points out, pagans who celebrate the seasons of the year, such as the solstice and the equinox, also celebrate the 4 cross-quarter days. These are the days between the solstice and the equinox. In other words, the fall equinox, September 21st, and the winter solstice, December 21st, halfway between them is October 31st, Halloween. Halloween, by the way, this is why we also celebrate Groundhog's Day. It's the cross-quarter day between the winter solstice and the vernal or the spring equinox. May Day is another cross holiday. In paganism, Samhain is the most sacred holiday, and that's what this day is actually known as, and thought to be the beginning of the new year. The harvest has been brought in, and now we have this veil between the seasons, between the light and the coming darkness. The dead that come back to haunt us are there actually to show us that life still goes on. And that we as the living need to find a way to live with the memories which are sometimes frightening and hold up what was good. And in order to scare off the spirits, we dress in Halloween costumes so that they will not be preying on us, but more likely we will be offering the dead our prayers. The ancient Celtic celebration of Samhain was the feast of thanksgivings that placated the gods. After the Roman conquest of the British Isles, 2 other feasts were combined with this day: the Roman feast of Ferelia, which honored the dead, and the harvest feast of Pomona, the thanksgiving for the goddess of fruit and trees. The connection between the living and the dead is strong, and has been there for a very long time. From its earliest days, the Catholic Church made a practice of adopting the pagan festivals for its own ends. Given the association with the Festival of the Dead, Pope Boniface IV designated the 1st of November, the day after Hallows Eve, as All Saints' Day in the 6th century. 500 years later, November 2nd became All Souls' Day. All Hallows Eve, Halloween, is hallowed because it is holy. My farmer neighbors didn't know is that Halloween has a Christian connection which goes back about 1,500 years. Because even trick-or-treating, which actually began as a Christian practice, was encouraged so that people would receive on Hallows Eve little cakes, little grain cakes called soul cakes. And they would give it to people in exchange for those people praying for the dead, which you need to do to be able to get your loved ones out of purgatory and into heaven. This is where the pagan celebration in Mexico comes from. Those little sugar cubes, those little things that we decorate are ways of remembering the dead, but also in some ways consuming that and then bringing life back into its fullness. Regardless of the spiritual connection, I think people just like an excuse for a good time. Witness many of you in this room. Some of your costumes I can't quite figure out yet, but I'm sure we can talk about it later. I know that for some of us right now, this seems a little disjointed. I think for some of us, we're worried about what is happening in our world. I know all of us are. But as the seasons change, it is known in the ancient world as the thin time, the time between one season and the next. And I've been talking to you about the liminal time that we are in together as a congregation and as a people. And liminal is another word for the thin time. In this liminal time, we are now struck even more so as we bring our community together in its full strength by the craziness that the world is in. A war in the Middle East, the dysfunction of our government, and mass shootings. We are really, really in a bad way. And the worries that we have in our own lives of being alone or getting older or raising children or living with parents, you name it. Friends, all of us are on a difficult journey, and I don't need to tell you that. And we are like the spirits in that way, that we're traveling from the memories of what was to what could be. And in that journeying, we are passing through darkness. But here's the thing. Darkness always reveals for us a transformation. It always gives us something new that we haven't had before. Our costumes transform us for a moment. Our homes can transform for a moment. But what I'd like to do today is for us to consider that this is the sacred time, the time between the seasons. It is, of course, the holiday season, right? With Halloween, we welcome the first of the 4 horsemen of the holiday apocalypse. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And these are thin times as well. Joshua Snyder points out that holidays acts as a reference point for the year and therefore for our lives. In this dark place that we are in right now, sometimes we need a little encouragement, a little way to laugh at what is going on. We know with the difficulties that are in our lives, we are in what the Buddha called dukkha, or the suffering of expectation. The eightfold path that he prescribes, beginning with right mind, is a way to understand that all of this too is temporary, and that we pass through this season to something else. Struggles remain, but we are renewed in focusing the power of our life on something good and whole and true. One of the reasons that we're reinstituting meditation into our worship service is so that we can remind ourselves to breathe in and breathe out, to be there when we need to be there for one another. One of the wisest people I follow is Lynn Twist. Lynn writes a blog and has written a book called The Soul of Money. Recently in her blog, and I copied it in here because I just want to make sure I get it right, she wrote this: I say with all humility and respect that perhaps the Middle East conflict is challenging each of us to look deeply at the way that we respond to people who have harmed us or who have opposing ideologies. We need to seek a way to understand and not to blame. We'll never exit the thousands of years morass if our explanatory template is always looking for who is right and who is wrong, who is innocent and who is guilty, who is good and who is evil. Binary thinking will never get us to understanding. It's not that these concepts are completely invalid, but it needs to give us an understanding where we can go from instead of blame to understanding, because only understanding will be effective. It liberates us from ignorance and finds a new day. Or as Rumi so magically put it, out beyond right and wrong is a field. I will meet you there. I want to close with this poem from Rilke. It's called Onto a Vast Plain. Summer was like your house. You knew where everything stood, and there was life there. And now in autumn, we must go out into our hearts as onto a vast plain. For now, loneliness begins. The days go numb. The wind sucks the world from our senses like withered leaves. Through the empty branches, though, the sky remains. The sky still holds us. It's what we have. Be of the earth now. Be an even song. Be the ground lying beneath the sky. In this time of our hallowed journey, friends, in this time of sorrow, anger, maybe fear, I want us to explore the ways in which we are the best of ourselves, the ways in which the darkness can give way to light. I believe we are on this journey now as a community, even as you in your individual lives are on this journey now. There is a way to chase away the spirit of darkness. There is a way to move from struggle and hurt to hope. There is a way to fulfill the promise of living. We bring to our altar of community so much more than sugar skulls and eagles' blankets, friends. We bring peace, we bring love, we bring hope, we bring each other. So may it be, and amen. Our closing hymn today is Gather the Spirit, number 347. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Thank you, maestros. Friends, we go from here to the vast plain that is our lives. We go from here to a new beginning. As the harvest is brought in and all of you show up for the auction on the 11th, let us remember that together light returns and the darkness is chased away. So may it be. For now the service truly begins. Please remain seated for the postlude.
So while Carl tunes the guitar, just want to let you know, the two songs we've done together are by my favorite band, literally in my life, even though I grew up with the Beatles, Carbon Leaf. And this song I'd like for you to join in, because there is a great chorus, and it goes, dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. So I think you'll gather how it works once he's done tuning. Unfortunately, the other song was in the key of 3rd fret, and now he has to.
And when we do get to the chorus, it repeats 1, 2, 3, and then 5 times. I don't know if that's Fibonacci sequence or not, but yeah, that's the math on it. So yeah, here we go. Raise the roof that I might see the stars, to gain wisdom to see things for what they are. Please, I need proof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth. Raise the roof. That's the chorus, you got it? Trapped in the snare with too much dreaming to bear, fearful and frantic, hopeless and a romantic, inspired but tired, I run this wide open course like the sagging spirit of an older horse. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Peel back this backdrop like the lids from my eyes, put you in plain view, let me visualize. Touch me again in my dreams till I feel. Touch me again till I wake and it's real. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. The wisest advice to me that I didn't teach was to lock up the heart but keep the key within reach. Touch me again in my dreams till I feel. Touch me again till I wake and it's real. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall, love till you die, shut your mouth, raise the roof. Dance till you fall in love till you die.